It's 7:00. He said this was pretty loud. It is, isn't it?
All right. It's nice to see everybody out tonight. I call to order the Torch Lake Township regular board meeting of May 20th, 2025 at 7:02. Sharon?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, housekeeping items. Board, when speaking, please move close to your microphone to ensure you are heard clearly for YouTube streaming. And I request citizens who speak to adjust the height and stand close to their microphone. There will be 2 opportunities for citizen comments. I will be requesting individuals to stay within the 4 minutes in both comment sections. I would appreciate everyone their points concise. I've been conducting citizen comments, but we'll go back and enforce the township's policy of 2.5E3, 2.6C. Individuals are not allowed to speak on a subject more than once. During the first citizen comment, comments should be related to the items on the agenda only. The second citizen comment section shall relate to any other matters unrelated to the agenda items. Citizen comments should pertain to specific issues, concerns, or policies they would like to bring to the board's attention. In addition, during the board discussion or deliberations, citizens are not to interrupt the procedure of the board. The chair may call upon individuals during either of these sections. I would request that comments are made respectfully to the board. We are here to discuss the township's business. For the record, Policy 2.0 has specific guidelines for the citizens addressing the board and its individual members. No name calling or personal attacks, no shouting, abusive, threatening, or disparaging language will be accepted. Engaging in this type of conversation will require myself to request the individual to return to their seat. I have allowed a wide interpretation of these items, but have received feedback to monitor comments more closely. I will try to do that going forward. To respect everyone's time, I strongly urge the board not to respond to the public comments, but address them in the board comment section. Sometimes this is difficult. This is not a debating stage between the township's residents and board members. I've been guilty of this in the past, and I will be more watchful of my comments. We have township business to conduct, and that we do so effectively. If there needs to be a follow-up from the board, I will direct the appropriate person to reach out to that individual. The documents on the website are aligned to the items on the agenda. These are draft documents to provide background information only. Just to be clear, motions were drafted to help the board more quickly get to the final wording and vote on the respective motions. The final motion may look different to reflect the actual action taken forward. All right, board. We have 1 set of minutes to approve. Are there any changes to the minutes of the regular meeting of April 15th, 2025?
I have none.
All right,
I have one comment.
all right.
Regarding the board comment, it says Graves mentions that the airport would be included as part of the Plan Commission rec plan. The airport will be included as part of the Planning Commission master plan.
All right.
So rec plan to master, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
sounds like it. Any other comments or changes? Hearing none, I will make the motion to approve the April 15th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes with changes. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting of April 15th, 2025 with changes. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And it's passed. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
All right. I have one. I would like to add under board discussion, Elk Rapids District Library. Anyone else? Hearing none, I make the motion that the agenda be accepted as presented. Changes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. It is moved and seconded that the agenda is accepted as presented with changes. Any discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will follow our agenda.
So would you repeat it? Is that E4?
Sorry?
E4? Where do you have it listed at?
Yeah. All right. Mary, any correspondence?
We got 2 letters from, we received letters from Rachel Warnos and Solomon Townsend in support of the Naquima Trailway. Solomon is an avid cyclist. He cites safety, health, and wellness and community as just some of the positive outcomes of the trailway. He also feels that the trailway would attract families and younger individuals to the area, and he would love to be able to invite others to come here to ride and enjoy nature here in our community. Rachel is also a cyclist and outdoor enthusiast. She too refers to safety, health, and wellness, but also speaks of tourism and economic opportunities that could be gained by the trailway, and feels that a trail would provide people a reason to stop here. There are copies of each of those letters at the back if anyone wants to read them in their entirety.
All right, we'll have the first section of citizen comments.
I
I'm sorry?
mean, so you just put the library on the agenda?
Yes.
So that means we want to do these now?
We have the option to do that.
So what do you want to do?
We'll put it last, that way it's consistent with everybody.
Okay.
You can get through the meeting that way.
Well, I don't have anything else that relates to the agenda that I see here.
All right. Consent agenda.
Unless we wanted to do the sheriff's report.
Yeah. Sheriff, would you like to give a quick report?
Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Really like the people that come here to see you tonight.
We're glad they came to see you.
So, real quick, I know you guys had a very long meeting. We've been extremely busy at the sheriff's office. We graduated 5 cadets out of our academy, and police academy on May 7th. We're ecstatic on this. They started today, was the first day, and it was like, somebody coming to a new job and they're all excited and getting like 10 years.
Yeah, right.
But they're getting all equipped, they're getting all their paperwork out of the way, and they're going to be an FTO for the next 3.5 to close to 4 months. It's a very extensive training program that we have, and we just want to make sure that they're ready and they have everything, all the tools for them to do the job and obviously protect all our citizens. So, another thing I want to talk about is drugs in our community. As I've talked several times in the past at your guys' board meetings, we have hit this extremely hard. We're not going to stop it, but we sure are one heck of a team. So, just in the last week and a half, give or take, my undercover drug team confiscate just on one traffic stop, 1 ounce of meth, 1 ounce of crack. So if you look at 1 ounce, it's 28 grams for 1 ounce. So it's quite a bit. And this stuff is here. And I wish I could stand up here and say, hey, there's nothing here like that. But it is here. We are definitely targeting on these individuals. They are coming up here from downstate, trying to sell to our citizens. And that's when we start getting overdose. So, like I said, we're going to need it one heck of an inconvenience. So we've been putting a lot of people in jail for this. And a lot of court hearings are coming up. So we're extremely busy on this. Last year of April 2024, we had calls for service for Township. We had 68 calls for service. This year, we had 31 calls for service. So, so that's good. That's fantastic. So, real quick, I want to make a real quick announcement. 5K dare run. Myself and my school resource officer, we usually do a golf outing, which we are doing a golf outing. It's going to be in the fall. And so if anybody's interested in running a 5K with me, so I'm going to run it. So come on, guys. All right. Merch, you can do it. I know you can. So 17 years up is $25. 16 years or under is $15. The family is $50. Obviously, all the proceeds go to our DARE program. Do all our children and stuff like that. So, and that's going to be Saturday, June 28th, 9 a.m. to registration. So, I do a report for April, Township Township. Your 911 checks were 4. Your alarms, we had 4. Car gear accident, we had 1. Driving complaint, we had 3. Follow-up investigation, we had 1. A general fire, there were 2. Hazardous condition was 1. Medical, 3. Suspicious situation, we had 1. Traffic stops, we had 6. We had 1 transport. That's usually a transport on the warrant or whatnot. And, any questions on the report? Go ahead.
I hate to put you on the spot, Sheriff, but with this many in the audience that comes from Milton, Elk Rapids area, we have a blind spot on the VSU. Would you address this audience, please, on the VSU? We're in desperate help.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a VSU program, it's Victim Service Unit. A lot of people we serve in the community, whether it's a tragic situation of death or it's someone that is in dire need of assistance. And we contact our VSU, which Sharon is a huge volunteer on that. We have 12 now, maybe down lower. So it is a voluntary basis. I am the director of it. If anybody who's interested in just volunteering over the time, we'd be happy to have it. You get to go to different areas for training. You can go to Lansing, to the Michigan Chair Association, and they have great training. In fact, the group went just recently here, I believe, and you learn quite a bit on how to help out individuals that are grieving a loss, and it's a huge help for us and my deputies, because when you guys arrive, we try to consult them as well, but we also have an investigation to do as well. So whether it's a natural death or it's a terrible homicide or murder or whatever it could be, terrible car crash, fatality on a car crash, we always have our VSU come out and be there for the family. And it's a major help for us, and I appreciate that. So if anybody wants to be a volunteer, just contact my office and I'll hook you up. You get a jacket, you get a baseball hat that says Antrim County Sheriff VSU. But you're not a police officer, but you are one heck of an asset to where you have to meet. So just keep that in mind. Anybody want to send it down?
Please, please, please.
So,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor, and I'll get out of your hair.
No, that's fine.
Me and the supervisor have talked in the past, with this 5 recruits coming and with our seasoned officers. I am looking at bringing in an officer in this township. And we are really working on this, myself and my undersheriff. And there's a couple more meetings I need to have with you.
Yep.
There's some contracts that we need to go over. But we're trying to do this for all the townships in the area. We did it years ago, but there's some other things that I want to do. Because then we have substations in the county, and trying to get another substation up in Banks Township, and it's very difficult to find a place up there. We found some places, but I just don't have it in my budget. So, other than that, we're working very diligently on trying to get that taken care of.
Just give me a call. We'll get together.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull any reports? If not, then all reports are accepted by consent. Next item, special reports. Andy?
So the Planning Commission, we had a meeting yesterday. I think it was quite productive. In that meeting, we started proceeding with the redevelopment or the refreshing of the master plan. We reviewed a couple of draft checks that were prepared for that meeting. Also went through survey questions with the anticipated having completion of the draft for the survey within the next couple of weeks. And then be disseminating that survey at the first part of the summer, proceeding with an open house in September. And then as in parallel to that, restructuring the master plan, and with the idea of having that master plan reviewed and completed by the end of the year. So I think it's a very good process that we're getting support from the zoning administrator, and I think we're off to a good start.
Is there a date for sending out the survey? I forgot.
It's sometime in early June, but I don't
Okay.
recall the date off the top of my head, but it's in that time frame.
That's critical for
I'm sorry,
everybody.
early July.
Early July?
Yeah.
It's critical that people return those surveys so that we can then put together a master plan for the community.
Just to clarify as well, the survey will come in two forms. There'll be an electronic form, which should be, it's a tool called SurveyMonkey, which basically is, if you've done electronic surveys, it would work very similarly. Then there'll also be a written form for those that don't choose to use the electronic form.
Great, thank you. Mary, any FOIA? update?
No, not this month.
Nothing? That's always good news.
Mhm.
The financial overview, we've started the new fiscal year, so only a couple of comments with regards to the financials. We were slightly unfavorable versus last year by $6,000, but we're favorable to budget by $109,000. The general fund was favorable, as well as the timing for the down payment to the road commission, which will hit us in May. The change in our ending cash from March was a negative $29,000. I met with our external auditors today, and we were given a clean bill of health. Compliments both to Mary and Sharon were shared by our auditors for the fine job they did in preparing for the audit. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or call the clerk's office. Moving on, we have no old business. Let's see. We have 4 items for new business. We are very grateful for the dedicated employees of our ambulance service and what they do for the citizens of our community, as well as those in the surrounding areas when they are called to assist those EMS services. Sharon, would you read the announcement that you've prepared for us?
I would be happy to. I'll be proud to do it. Being on the ambulance for 30 plus years myself. So it is EMS week this week, starting Sunday, May 18th to the 24th. And I'd like to read something we put together here. Torch Lake Township Board of Trustees wishes to recognize National EMS Week of May 18th through the 24th and 25. This year's theme is We Care, for everyone. This board and the entire community of Torch Lake Township acknowledge emergency medical services as a vital public service. Our first class ambulance team, now I'm going to start crying because I'm looking at my team back there. Our first class ambulance EMS team are ready to provide life-saving care to those who need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to our citizens. Our sincere appreciation as we recognize the accomplishments of Torch Lake Township EMS Ambulance and best wishes for their constant safety and good health for the upcoming year. We encourage all citizens to observe this week as EMS Week. We have people in the back. If we can get a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Sharon. Second item on our new business is the approval of the MS billing rates. What you had in your original package had an error in it, so I put a new item on your desk. It's pretty much the same increase, which is 5%. It's been that, I think, Mike, right? Just about every year?
5% every year. We evaluate it about this time of year for the next, so it's basically the same. Believe me, the equipment hasn't gone on any. Our monitors are now about 50,000 a piece. A new rig, thanks to the township board, we're getting stuff, $370,000. So 5% is what we're asking for from the board, and that's correct. Thank you, Bob.
Yep. Any discussion, board?
No, I would like to make the motion, we adjust our current EMS ambulance run rates according to what we have presented before us.
I'll second it.
Thank you, board. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, would you read it back for us?
Motion to approve new ambulance billing rates for the township as presented effective June 1st, 2025.
Since it's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you, board. Item number 3. We've had a changing of the guard with our Torch Bay Nature Preserve Board. The board is led now by Chris Lampin Crow, and he is a perfect fit to follow Mary. We lost 3 of our longtime members through resignations. Each one of the following people did immeasurably good for the Torch Bay Nature Preserve in that they made sure that that preserve serves the public with access to walking trails in the bay. Those 3 people were Mary Van Valen, Jerry Kleinfelder, and Marie Lorenz, both long-term servants for the township in watching over Torch Bay Nature Preserve. During my first term, I think, my phone number was on Mary's speed dial as she constantly challenged the parking issues, overnight campers, and people having campfires on the beach after dusk. There was nothing that kept her from doing that work. They will all be missed. We have 3 new people that I know will continue the tradition of watching out for our nature preserve. Patrick McLaren, I pronounced that wrong, where are you? Patrick
McNamara.
McNamara might be the name. McLanara. Cool. Jeff Harding are the new folks in our township and are very interested in the well-being of the nature preserve. We also welcome Aaron Dodd, who serves as a Traverse Regional Land Conservancy representative. Board, I make a motion to approve Patrick McLanara, I'll mess it up, and Jeff Hardin to 3-year terms effective May 21st, 2025. Any discussion on the motion? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to appoint Patrick and Jeff to 3-year terms effective May 21st, 2025. Any further discussion? If not, Mary, we need a roll call vote, please.
Bob,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Mary, yes.
Thank you, board. No, because he's Traverse Bay. He's a representative. He's not an official voting board member. Item 4, treatment of hemlock woolly abagid disease at the Nature Preserve. At the Torch Bay Nature Preserve meeting on Friday, there was a presentation by representatives of the organization tasked with identifying and treating hemlock trees with the woolly abagid disease. They are known as cake or Charlevoix, Antrim, Kalkaska, and Emmett counties and are associated with the state's Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. They have identified the disease at our nature preserve and require the owners / representatives of the nature preserve to approve the treatment of the disease as identified. The Torch Bay Nature Preserve Board passed a motion requesting that the township sign the application for that treatment. Any questions on this item? If none, I will make the motion to approve State of Michigan Representative Agency cakes to treat hemlock woolly abagid disease in the Torch Bay Nature Preserve area. Any discussion on that motion?
Is there someone here that knows that's
Yes.
representing this?
Come on forward.
I'm Chris Lampert Cole with the chair of the Nature Preserve.
Green light.
You can just take it off and then hold it for a few minutes.
The famous microphone.
Famous microphone. There you go.
It's gotta go on. She's coming back. It's being recorded, so
Okay.
we need to make sure it's.
Here, take this one. It's got a green light.
New batteries.
New batteries.
I'm Chris Lampert Kroll. I'm the chair of the Torch Bay Nature Preserve.
So if it's at the nature preserve, I'm assuming it's probably in other areas.
So this is the northernmost that it's ever been found in Michigan, the hemlock woolly adelgid. So it is, they're of great concern with this for the state. The Cake Sisma, who Bob was talking about, has received a grant to treat this northern area. I have since the meeting spoken to the neighborhood liaison at San Marino, Bay Harbor, also Forest Beach, and then Michigan Trail. So I've spoken to neighborhood liaisons through that area, knowing that they also need to know, and they can contact Cake Sisma for surveys.
Okay, that was my next question, because I have property there too with lots of hemlocks on it.
So the wonderful thing about our forests here are they are old growth hemlocks, so many old growth hemlocks, and it would be just terrible to see these die. And so what happens is if they're untreated, it'll take 4 to 10 years for those hemlocks to die.
So if I want, if somebody wanted to get theirs treated, contact Cakes.
Cake Sisma, correct. And
Okay.
it's part of the Antrim Conservation District. You can look it up online, Google it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, we had somebody in here it was about a year ago that
Yep.
brought info in on that.
Yeah. It was from the Conservancy group, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will make the motion to approve State of Michigan Representative Agency cakes to treat hemlock woolly etiged disease in the Torch Bay Nature Preserve area. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been moved and seconded to approve the State of Michigan Representative Agency cakes to treat hemlock woolly etigid disease in the Torch Bay Nature Preserve area. Mary, would you call a roll call vote, please?
Bob,
Yes?
Andy,
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Mary, Sharon.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say yes.
Very good.
Good.
Thank you, board. Moving on to board discussion. First item is Torchport Airport update. I have no handouts for the presentation, but I want to provide some information to our public. I spoke with Tim Bays a week and a half ago to discuss what will be going on in the near future at the airport with the runway done. I believe almost all the lots are now sold and people are looking at getting building permits to begin construction of homes. In addition, a property owner of the township will be utilizing the airport for the landing and taking off of various types of helicopters. There may be more that take advantage of the new landing field. Tim indicated he will be stressing to the paramotors that they must adhere to the legal requirements associated with their flying them in our area. At this point, anybody that finds a violation of them, get a picture and get it to me as soon as possible. Final item, the update on the road work. Second item, I'm sorry. The paving at the Public Docks Road will be completed on the 22nd and not on the 23rd. They are going to have the crew out of there on the 22nd. They have no intention of being there on the 23rd. The rest of the road work will be completed as scheduled. Finally, you have a couple pictures on your desk. I didn't make copies. People are interested, they can come up after the meeting. Regarding the road end at Creswell, I'll go through a little history first. We undertook an effort in 2022 to try and make the road inaccessible for both foot traffic and jet ski launching for our citizens. We spent a few $1,000s in trying to improve that area. Later that year, we had multiple storms that blew up out of Traverse Bay that undermined the front part of the work, and it was determined at that point not to try to keep repairing it since we're going to lose the battle with the bay. Therefore, we did not repair the area after that, but as you can see from the pictures, the upper half of the working area or the landing there is still intact. But as you go through and you look at the other two pictures, you will see that everything that was built into the water is now pretty much gone. The purpose of the Creswell Road end was primarily to service our fire department if they needed to refill their tankers with water. Residents could walk down there and you could hand launch canoes, paddle boards, and kayaks if you wish. We have a resident on Golden Beach Road wondering why we haven't kept it repaired. Now, what you see has been in place since 2022, and this is the first time a person has raised any issue in 3 years. I promised the individual I would ask the board if they would want to spend additional funds on improving that launch site. Given the fact that the upper part is fine, the lower part would have to be repaired, and the chances of it lasting very long are pretty slim. So the question is, does the board have any interest in spending money on that? Comment?
I'm sorry, with the fire department, would they still be utilizing that section back there then? And I know their trucks are big and heavy. I didn't know if it would be a hold up for that. Chief?
And maybe along those lines, to piggyback on your question, Sharon, if if you weren't able to use this ramp, what alternatives do you have and how close are they?
On his way up. We actually, the road goes down pretty far on that.
Because what I see at the end is all water. I don't know how you're going to fix all that.
That location that you are discussing now is a primary water spot for the fire department to draft from. We also use that location to launch the rescue boat at certain times. Right now, it's really inaccessible for the rescue boat to be launched there. Possibly, I've been down there, excuse me, I checked all the water points, and that one would be a little bit of a challenge for us to draft out of. It would be a turbo draft, and I don't need to explain the functions of that, but we could possibly do that. But to have a ramp there would be nice. If any of you are out and about, we have at Erickson Road, this Joe Marks Trail at the dead end down there. That's in Milton Township. They have a very nice wide concrete ramp that they use for a drafting point down there. And it's kind of facing the same direction. So that would be an ideal situation because we would be able to back the truck farther down the bank. And that concrete would most likely be reinforced with reinforcing wire to make it structurally able to withstand the weight of the fire department truck, and the thickness of the concrete would matter on that also.
Isn't that a shared access between Milton and Torch Lake?
No, that's dedicated for Milton. Ours is up at the end of Erickson Road. And we
Oh.
were just up there doing a turbo draft with the new pumper tanker last week. But if it's, with all the new buildings going up around Old Mission Estates and the surrounding area, like I said, that would be a major water point for us on the end of Crestwell to the time-wise with filling up tankers if we did have a structural fire down there. So it would be a major improvement for that road. And also being able to use by residents or whatever coming up if they want to use it for a boat ramp. So it would work out, I think, very well for everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the other comment I would have, Bob, is that, you know, the question is obviously what cost would it be? So that would be the next question. And the third thing is, I mean, I live on the bay, so my house is, I have two structures that are very close, so I'm very sensitive to fluctuations in the water level. Right now, the bay is on its way down, and assuming it follows the same cycle that it has for years and years and years, I'm not saying this necessarily makes it any easier from a cost perspective, but I believe that it's going to continue to go down for another 10 to 15 years before it comes back up high. So, you know, there's good likelihood that if there were improvements made, it would last 15 to 20 years before the water even came right back up to it.
All right. Anybody else?
It seems like we had a big winter and a lot of water, I know, that's been coming off through streams all over the place. It's been high water. So it's been terrible.
The water levels right now is about coming up on a foot below normal. So, and it was at high water about in 2020, 2019, 2020. So in the last couple of years, it's really plummeted down, last 4 years.
Mary?
I'd want to see the cost on doing what Kevin says.
Yep.
I don't think this is not,
Would it be, it would be a plan, it would be anything structurally like this or something that Kevin had said maybe differently. So something that will last.
Kevin,
yeah.
why don't we investigate who the contractor was that put in Milton's? And, yep, and we'll take a look at it and get a quote.
Okay.
All right, board? Next item is the added one for Elk Rapids District Library. I wanted to bring to the board an update with the conversations I've had with our township attorney. I'm going to hand out documents from the attorney. He has marked on the documents, therefore they are considered privileged attorney-client documents and are not to be shared with the public at this time. The reason for that is the attorney has highlighted items for us to review and consider as it relates to the library. The takeaway from our attorney is that we should not sign the agreement that has been presented to us. There are a number of issues he has presented and believes that any contract the township considers needs to meet specific guidelines, and therefore the board should not engage with Elk Rapids Library District until we work through these issues. One of the things he indicated was a concern regarding the legality of using general funds for the benefit of a specific group of people in a township. That alone requires us to reject the contract as presented on legal concerns without needing a vote. Therefore, unless a board member believes we should not follow the advice of our counsel, I will consider the current contract presented to the board as being rejected based on legal counsel opinion. We'll work with Todd to come up with something that we can then consider proposing to Elk Rapids District Library. I will also ask Todd if we should have a special meeting and move to a closed session, given this is a contract that will be negotiated, and we'll want to prepare our document with the ability to work among ourselves under Todd's direction. For those of you who question why a closed session, we can only do that if the attorney feels it is warranted. Otherwise, it will be a special meeting and open to the public. Board, do you have any questions?
None.
Mary? Sheriff? Andy? All right. Thank you, board. Moving on to information only section. I have no handout on this. During the meeting of the Torch Bay Nature Preserve, a point was raised about it being against the conservancy agreement where the launching of items was restricted to launching by hand. However, a few contractors continue to use the area to launch boat lifts and jet skis. We have concrete barriers, but the ones by the shore are far enough apart for these contractors to launch their items. They are tearing up the beach and damaging the hammerhead built to facilitate the launching of our fire department's rescue boat. Therefore, for us to be in compliance with that aspect of the conservancy agreement, protecting the beach and our hammerhead road for the fire department, we will be notifying the contractors by registered mail that effective October 15th, 2025, they will no longer be able to utilize the beach area for any launching of lifts, boats, or other items that cannot be launched by hand. I will be putting out a notice on Constant Contact and the website so residents who have contractors that utilize the nature preserve know that this practice will be ending this year. We also will reduce the gap to a size to accommodate the rescue boat, but everybody will be able to get their materials out of the water at the end of this year. That concludes my section there. We will open it up to citizen comment. If you'll remember, I request that you stay within 4 minutes. Be respectful to the board. And it must relate to other items other than what was on the agenda, but it will be allowed for everything related to Elk Rapids Library. So, Mary?
First, we're going to hear from Bob Hawkins, insurance requirements.
Hello, Robert Hawkins, 12373 3rd Street in Keewaydin. I'm here to make a comment about remarks that were made at last month's board meeting regarding myself. Specifically, we had some conversation about a cleaning service that was going to be hired. Let me back up a little bit. Sharon, I got a phone call from you one day. I wouldn't say your hair was on fire, but it was smoldering. And rightly so. Your concern was that the prior cleaning service, the contractor pay may have been picked up by the auditor, and the township would have to pay workers' compensation insurance rates on the money that was paid to her as an independent contractor. If that in fact did happen, I was unaware that the situation occurred. That's kind of out of my purview as a committee member. But upon your phone call, I knew it was a problem that I could help to solve. So we got the proper paperwork in place, registered the cleaning service properly with the state as a sole proprietorship, which can exempt themselves from having to be under workers' compensation. I brought her in, we filled out a new W-9, had all the paperwork in place, but still at the board meeting, the issue popped up, and you and Mary, you made a remark that you had spoken to an insurance agent and that I in fact was wrong and that you do need to have that insurance. So I'm not here to argue the point, but I would prefer, rather, as is my nature, to lift up and help educate. So I just made a couple of quick copies, not the whole thing from the state. But this is part of the paperwork whereby the process where you can register yourself as a sole proprietorship, go to the workers' comp, get the WC 337 form and exempt yourself. So that won't happen in the future if this ever pops up again. May I give these to Sharon and Mary?
Sure. We'll let them make copies for us.
The other comment that was made was regarding, I don't even know what document you guys may have had. It had again to do with the bids that had been submitted for the cleaning service. There was some discussion that I had returned a bid for Eneco Stone cleaning that had been altered. More or less, when I watched the meeting later, when I got home that night, my feeling was that I had all been accused of bid rigging, which I did not appreciate. Nothing like that has ever happened, nor will happen. As a matter of fact, the only document that was passed to the board from the park committee was simply the recommendation on who we thought should be hired for the service. No other papers came. I have no idea what paper you guys were looking at that were, looked like as a bid. It may have been. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to clear that up, defend myself against what I thought were, I won't say malicious charges because I don't think anything was done maliciously, but in error. Do you have any questions for me, or do you understand my point here, what I've said? Okay, I mean, do you read? Yes?
I said, very good.
Okay,
I appreciate your comments.
all right.
And I really appreciate all you do down at the day park.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate
That goes without saying. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Mary?
Deanna Jerdee, Paddle Antrim, update on Chain of Lakes Water Trail.
Good evening. I'm Dina Jerde. I'm the Executive Director of Paddle Antrim. We're a local nonprofit working to protect our waterways by connecting people through paddle sports. We've been doing this for 10 years, and we are grateful for our work and being able to continue to do this. We host the Chain of Lakes Water Trail. It is a water trail that provides over 100 miles of paddling opportunities in our Chain of Lakes through Charlevoix, Antrim, Kalkaska, and Grand Traverse County. We can only do this because of the partnerships that we have with the local governments, including Torch Lake Township, to provide 84 access sites on the water trail. So we are grateful for your partnership and your continued partnership in this process. As you know, you only have 3 access sites on the water trail. They all considered emergency access sites. So they aren't trailheads where people are launching, but they are available for people if they need to get out of the water. And so we are grateful for those to continue to be on the water trail. Per our agreement, I'm here just to update you on where we're at with the water trail and answer any questions you may have. We continue to monitor the water trail. We have volunteers going out to all 84 access sites at least every 2 weeks. In general, everything is great. We've had one sign stolen from Torch Lake Township. We've had another couple vandalized, but in 5 years, 84 access sites, the fact that we've only had to replace 4, I'm thinking is still a good odds. In addition, we recently updated our water trail plan. We inventoried access site owners, paddlers, businesses, and local residents about the water trail. Things we heard was they want to see more accessibility. They're looking for more access sites in certain locations, more restrooms, more universal accessibility, continued focuses on stewardship and of the water trail. And so we're going to continue to work with our access site owners on those things as we continue to move forward. We are working right now with the Village of Elk Rapids. If you've been by Rotary Park in the last year, we helped the village raise about $1 million to do some major improvements there. There's a universal access site going in there. We have the first non-motorized permanent wash station going in there as well as restrooms and some other amenities as well. And we'll continue to do those in areas where site owners are interested in working with us to continue to upgrade the water trail. As an organization, we continue to get paddlers out on the water. We do individual classes for adults and youth, training people on how to kayak and paddleboard. We hope to see more people out doing that this year. We do community paddles and then the Paddle Antrim Festival. So over the past 9 years of doing water, we've had 2,700 people out on the water with us, and we're continuing to do that in the future. So with that, thank you for being a partner with us, and we appreciate any questions you have. Let me know.
We appreciate all you do. It's a
Thank you.
fantastic job.
Okay, we're going to hear from Eric Douglas, Torch to Bay, Nakwima Trailway.
Good evening. I grew up in a rural West Michigan community. We had the privilege of getting the Hart Montague Trail put in, which was roughly 27 miles of paved multi-use trail. Completed about the age of 10. We utilized it frequently growing up. It allowed us to get out as a family and explore many new places we may not have been able to do because there was no safe route or no access at all. It taught us to be responsible of the trail, the land surrounding the trail, and to appreciate the asset we had. We continue to use trail systems with our own kids, teaching them the same respect and gratefulness we were taught. The creation of the Torch to Bay section of the Nakwima Trail System would be a great addition to our already beautiful area. Not only is it a low impact, low cost, and low maintenance addition, but is also a responsible use of our land and resources. The small investment would be substantial to the community. The long-term vision for the Nakwima Trailway includes establishing an endowment to help fund maintenance across the corridor, also to engage volunteers to support lighter tasks such as trimming brush and repairing the boardwalks, which will also help keep the cost down. Each project will include a maintenance set-aside to help cover expenses and contribute to the future endowment. In general, winter maintenance is expected to be waived due to the challenges of keeping the trail clear, especially if the trail runs close to the roadway. And because many residents are seasonal, that said, the local community could decide to perform snow removal if there's interest and capacity. Some of the trails in the TART Trails network are either cleared for winter walking and riding or groomed for winter cross-country skiing. Winter maintenance can be determined as a priority by the local community. We will absolutely put out trail etiquette signage along the trail. We recognize that trail etiquette is a major factor in making sure everyone feels safe and welcome on the trails. There are some great examples of the signage on the Tart Trail etiquette page, and we can certainly replicate similar efforts to the Torch to Bay Trailway. Thanks.
Couple of questions.
Yeah.
So far, Torch Lake has been pretty positive about this.
Yep.
We've only been asked really one question that we had a vote on, and that was which side of the road the trail was going on. What is the timing for additional information for us to be able to consider, when things are going to start to happen?
Yeah.
Anybody's guess?
If you want.
Come on, Denise.
Well, we are at a point where we could start talking about capacity and, what it would actually look like. That kind of is up to the township if you're ready to have that kind of conversation. What was the question exactly?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the timing associated with when the township has to make a decision. So therefore, I'm looking for information ahead of that decision so that the board can start considering what it is that we would want to do as opposed to not knowing what we're going to do.
Right. I think it would be appropriate to start having that kind of conversation for you to have more information about timeline. I'm not an expert on that. I'm just a supporter. So, but I think the powers that be with TART, with Nequema, would be glad to have conversations with you individually or with the board in general too.
Yeah, well, have them get in touch with me. Let's get the ball rolling.
Okay.
And see what's required, and then I can come back to the board and
Okay.
we can have a discussion on it.
Okay.
All right?
I think you're having a meeting in here too, right? This thing.
Yes, there's a quarterly, the Nequema Trail Group meets quarterly in each township that it's working with. And we do have a meeting coming up the 27th of June.
Now, that's just a general meeting, or is that going to be specific to Torch Lake Township?
Oh, it'd be specific to
Okay.
Torch Lake Township, yes.
I was going to say, I'd find it helpful if at a future board meeting and then, that we just get an update briefing from the trail group. Just see what is progress, what does it look like from here? And we could just ask questions and have a refreshed presentation. It's been a while since
Yeah.
I've heard anything specific about it, other than some of the like the street, the corner and the 31 and M88 and things of that nature.
Would you
So
like a prelim meeting in June board meeting, or do one after they do their presentation here on the 27th of June?
after the
After the
27th
meeting.
meeting? Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so
Okay.
set it up for the July board meeting.
Okay.
All right,
Great, I have a question. So, yeah, we've been hearing about this bike trail for a year and a half, probably 2 years, at this meeting, but are you guys gonna mail out to all our residents what your plan is, especially the residents whose property will be affected?
Well, of course, there's a process. I'm not an expert. The people that TART and Nequema are experts, and they've done this many, many times, and in a way that pretty much everybody's happy about it. So it's not like they're going to come through and, barnstorm through. It's got to be something that the whole community embraces, including the property owners that it will affect, so.
Okay, the reason why I asked that question is I've been approached by a few different people that are hearing it through the grapevine. And
Okay.
just some information mailed out to maybe every one of us to let everybody know, hey, this is
Yeah.
what our plan is, would be nice.
Okay.
great, thank you. Hi, Mary.
We're going to hear from Casey Wiggins, Tree Lakes Association.
Good evening. My name is Casey Wiggins. I live at 131 Northwest Torch Lake Drive in Keewaydin. I'm a board member of TLA, the Three Lakes Association, covering Torch Lake Township. I'd like to introduce TLA to the board and highlight the things that we do that are beneficial to the residents of Torch Lake Township. For those that you don't know of us, TLA is a 501c3 corporation whose mission is to provide leadership to preserve, protect, and improve the environmental quality of the Elk River Channel Lakes watershed, focused principally on Lake Belair, Clam Lake, Torch Lake, and their tributaries. We're a grassroots, volunteer-based organization advocating for protection of the waters at the township level. Key priorities include responding to concerns of our members and identified threats to the environment, education about water quality and stewardship, monitoring water quality, investigating threats to water quality in shorelines, restoration of aquatic systems and shorelines. Recently, we've been emphasizing three main items: research activities into the spread of golden brown algae. If you've been out on the lake in the last few years, you've noticed a significant proliferation of that on the bottom. Investigation of proliferation of zebra and quagga mussels. Again, things that have become evident in the water on Torch Lake. Eurasian water milfoil, monitoring and control of that. It's not so much here in Torch Lake Township, but we've been working very heavily down in the Clam River area to keep it down there. Other efforts highlighted in a handout that I intended to hand out previously. I'll at the end of the conversation, I'll provide some to you, and I have some extras for the people in the back. TLA works cooperatively with like-minded groups such as Grass River Natural Area, Torch Conservation Center, Tip of the Mitt Watershed Council, and many others to collectively address common issues. Key examples: we have a partnership with TLPA, Torch Lake Protection Alliance, to support water quality monitoring for Keep Torch Lake Blue. We share sample data and results from our golden brown algae research for a combination with their USGS research, compounding the value of both of our efforts. We continue to support Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program with Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, EGLE, you probably heard of them, in collecting and sharing water quality data for use in water resource management projects that they have going on. We sponsor education programs. CEOP, which is the Science Education Outreach Program, is a program to cultivate a sense of stewardship of the lakes, streams, and land in young people in the area. The summer internship program works with local high schools, most recently focused on the zebra and quagga infestation. A great report on their efforts in the last 2 years is included in our winter 2024 newsletter, which you can find on our website. Last month, we hosted an adult education event, such as the recent Zoom meeting where Sheriff Hope joined us and Roy Wick from County Marine Patrol to discuss responsible boater operation and safety. So we do a lot of things that I think have benefits to people in Torch Lake Township. Take a look at our website on 3lakes.com. That's the number 3lakes.com. Go under the About tab, and there's a section there under Goals and Accomplishments that'll show the results of efforts that we've had over the years since our inception in 1966. You'll also find the newsletter I mentioned and past copies. So I'm here to encourage Torch Lake Township to join us in helping to increase the awareness of and supporting our efforts to address these important topics, which have a direct bearing on the quality and the value of our most significant natural resource, Torch Lake. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the committee. For you that don't know, I basically backed Casey through the back door onto that committee for the township. So I appreciate his service. Again, thanks, Casey. Mary?
Thank you for the
Okay.
opportunity.
We're going to hear from Laura Anderson on the library.
Laura Anderson, San Marino Trail, and Central Lake School District. I just wanted to thank the board for not entering into the original contract with the Elk Rapids District Library. Doing so would have been an inappropriate use of the general fund. I've heard multiple fallacious arguments in support of it, including the township doesn't care if its residents don't have free access to a library. Well, it's not free. A more accurate description would be, I want someone else to pay for it so I can have free access. In the Elk Rapids Library contract, they're asking for the entire township to pay, but only half the township residents would get access, effectively asking those in Central Lake School District to subsidize library access for those in Elk Rapids School District. The people who live in Central Lake School District already pay 0.6 mils of assessment for library access in Central Lake. If those who live in the Elk Rapids School District want access to a library, they could vote for a tax assessment or pay the annual guest fee. Using the general fund to pay for it would be inappropriate and not fair to the residents who live in the Central Lake School District. So thank you again for not using township funds for something that only benefits half the township.
Thank you, Laura.
Peg Asmus, Elk Rapids Library. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Use the tall one, not the little one. The tall one. Okay. I'm Peg Asmus, 100955 Barnes Road in Kewadin. As a Torch Lake Township resident who regularly uses the Elk Rapids District Library, I've tried to better understand what the issues have been. I've had conversations with Supervisor Cook and Pam Williams, who is the district librarian, or the Elk Rapids librarian, to clarify some of the issues so that I would have hopefully an informed opinion. The proposed contract, which totals $3,675, benefits 600 Torch Lake Township residents, of which 356 are active card holders. This equates to a cost of about $6 per resident. Now, what's happened is that those of us who are card holders have been now notified that we now need to pay $80 for that same service. Stated differently, the value to those 356 constituents who hold a card is $28,480, but under the contract would have cost $3,675. Now, I understand that this is not an equal arrangement. Central Lake residents absolutely help pay for this benefit via the general fund. To help mitigate this, Elk Rapids District Library was willing to extend reciprocal privileges to Central Lake School District residents who live in Torch Lake Township. That would have given them access to the items in circulation and library programming. And what I'm kind of hoping is that perhaps some sort of reciprocal arrangement could address the issue that the township attorney has raised in terms of using general fund dollars for only some residents. It seems to me that if there's reciprocity, everybody benefits. Now, I also see this as an interim arrangement. I believe that the best long-term resolution is for the Elk Rapids District Library to seek an operating millage, just like the folks in Central Lake have. However, in the near term, while the library undertakes the new campaign for the new library, the low cost with reciprocity contract seems like a very fair way to provide affordable library access to both Torch Lake Township residents, whether they're in Central Lake School District or in Elk Rapids School District. I hope the board recognizes the importance of this issue to so many of its constituents and will find a way to extend fair privileges to everyone. Thank you.
Wendy McWhorter.
Well, this will be short, because what she said is exactly what I believe. But I do have a question. If this went to a vote, who pays for the vote? The township? Who pays for, if this was put to a vote, let's say like in November or next May,
To be honest, that's one of the questions I have with Todd.
with the lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. One more question. This has been going on for many, many years, this agreement. Why now? I know that they asked for more money, $175 more. Why wasn't a lawyer consulted a long time ago about this arrangement? Why now?
Because it's an issue and we needed to talk to the lawyer about it because they did change the contract. They took out half of the township that could use the library, and they still wanted the funds coming out of the general fund. That required us to go and talk to the lawyer.
Okay. I wish that would have been made clear in all of the public record that I've seen. I've never seen that, what you just said. That would have been very helpful.
That's fine. I
Okay, thank
appreciate
you.
your comments.
Jim King.
Hi, I'm Jim King. I live on Tamarack in Keewaydin. And I too agree wholeheartedly with trying to just fund it through the taxes and any way we can. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think that it's a shame to not have access for the library. I can afford it, but paying the taxes, not everything is fair in any governmental, operations. I mean, as far as some residents get services or things they want, such as the boat water access on Cresswell Drive or, Cresswell Road, where other people don't use it. I mean, it's not only for the fire department, as said, it was for boat launches and other things. But I'll reiterate what was previously said, that I want to do anything we can to keep access to the public library in Elk Rapids.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Judy King.
Jim's my brother there. I'm Judy King. I live on Fisher Drive. I came to express my disappointment at being kind of slammed with the idea that I no longer have a library. 79 years of my life, I've had access to a public library. And all of a sudden, I find out that it has been removed. I agree with my brother that, government services are, some like the EMS, we all value so highly. There is no dispute that we need EMS services or tending to our environmental issues and things like that. But other things like the boat launch, I've never had a boat. I'm never going to have a boat. I'm 80 years old. I'm not about to go out and buy one. So it comes down to government services are distributed unequally. So we have to kind of prioritize them. Since the time of Ben Franklin, the library has been ultimately an important service. As an former English teacher and high school administrator, it would be one of my most important services, other than EMS perhaps. Also, I would like to express a disappointment in this service or in this process as it has unfolded. It seems that from the beginning, library was just removed without discussion, without public notice, without input from citizens or perhaps even board members, it was gone. And when a meeting occurred with the librarian, it was a firm decision. When she asked to come to the meeting, it wasn't thoroughly discussed. It was just gone. And now we get the report from the lawyer sort of after the fact, okay? And I feel left out. I feel that the whole process has been negative input from the beginning from the township when on a service that's important to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Bonnie Miller?
Hello, my name is Bonnie Miller, and I'm a Torch Lake Township Central Lake School District resident. And I just want to voice my extreme disappointment in the handling of this Elk Rapid library contract. It's unacceptable. Why was the decision made by just the supervisor? How could he leave part of our community with no library access? There are constituents, there is a board. The library contract seemed like a generous offer, $5 for a service that others in the library catchment area are paying $80 for. Should have been a no-brainer. When I first called Bob, Supervisor Bob, he explained that he couldn't accept a contract that didn't treat all residents in Torch Lake Township equally. In other words, people like me would have to have my tax dollars taken out of the general fund to pay for a service I would not be able to use. Okay, I agree, that doesn't sound fair. But here's the question I should have asked, or more importantly, Bob should have included in his explanation. How much of my general fund tax dollar are we talking about? I've heard it's $3. Really? $3? So for the sake of $3, no one in Torch Lake Township can use the Elk Rapids Library without paying? Torch Lake Township Elk Rapids residents include young families with underage school children and senior citizens, likely the most unable to pay the $80 to use the library. They have nowhere to go. There are other services that I pay taxes for that I don't use or gain benefit from. Others have spoken of the boat launch. I don't launch a boat there. And the big, beautiful new pumper truck. I've been told by the fire chief that it'll not fit down my road. So if my house is on fire, it'll be of no use to me. Would I have said no to my tax dollars being spent on these services? No, of course, we're a community. These things are for the greater good. Torch Lake Township passed up a great deal for a service that's been in place for 20 plus years, and I'm one of those people you were trying to use as the reason not to accept the contract. And I'm telling you, I wanted you to accept it. You should not have assumed, you should have asked, there should have been more forthcoming with the exact amount you were talking about. Yes.
15 seconds, please.
Okay. Furthermore, when your own board and at the March 18th meeting agreed there should be more discussion, Sharon saying the contract needed to be revisited, cleaned up, worked together for a good conclusion, you refused to meet because you wanted the library. They wanted to work on the original contract and not waste time discussing your
Bonnie,
suggestion.
time's up. Please sit down.
Thank you.
There's other people that want to talk.
Mike and Lorna Corso?
Good evening. Lorna Corso. I roped my husband into this by writing his name down. But I assure you, he agrees with me. We live on Barnes Road, and we're seasonal, so we go away for a few months in the winter, and I came back to the library issue. Actually, I read an email from Pamela at the library on my way home, came to the township, talked to Mary and Sharon, and got an update, and spent some time exchanging emails with Pamela, talking to someone on the board at the library, and then emails exchanged with Bob about this issue. And so it took me a while to catch up on both sides of what was going on and what it had transpired. And I know that you, the board, have heard through my email that my concerns. I'm not going to reiterate things have been spoken about tonight that have been spoken well, and you've heard it all, but I would like to just add a little bit of content around why I'm thankful that you're continuing the discussions with the lawyer to try and find an alternative for those who will be unserved in Torch Lake Township. There are little children who aren't in school. There are retired people on fixed incomes, and there are people who are low income. None of those people will probably be able to pay that $40 or $80 for library services. It is so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky Lancaster?
Good evening. Becky Lancaster, 305 Ottawa Trail, Keewaydin. You've heard from me in the newspaper, and I'm still going to stick to whatever we decide how a library gets paid for, contributed to. We need to decide that as a community. And I have called out from the get-go, once I saw what was going on, starting with January, that this has not been inclusive, it's not been transparent, and it's not been communication to our population that should have been included from the very beginning. And I could name a number of opportunities as we go on where I would continue to point out, here's a point where you should have been more inclusive. You could have been more communicative. And to hear now an attorney's opinion of this could have saved a lot of problems or a lot of disinformation and given direction from the get-go on how to proceed with this. May 1st was the end. We're done, folks. So for this year, there is no contract that's going to cover us in Torch Lake Township. I spoke with Pam Williams today. She had to turn it into the state of Michigan for this fiscal year, and that is May 1. So we're done. But it sounds like there's a lot of interest here in moving forward, taking a look at if we were to enter into some type of contract and how library services could come back. We have time to work on it because we could come back by May 1st and do something. And now that we have a start with an attorney's guidance on what and how township funds should be spent, that gives us a start. But the community needs to be involved. And then I step back and say, oh, what community? Because you know what? Torch Lake Township, especially, that cover most of us, we don't have a community. We don't have a community center. Elk Rapids is our community. It serves us in more ways than I have fingers and toes to list or itemize. It's important to us, apparently, that our township show support for the service given to us for almost 30 years for a penny, that we support what's going forward with an advanced library service and a system, technology system beyond anything we would have ever hoped for and will never see in Torch Lake Township. Because of our size, we'll never have a library and we'll never have a community center. And so there it is. And it's important that we show thank you, and we want to support this moving forward because I know we're going to benefit from everything that they're willing to share with us for next to nothing. And I feel it's important that we recognize that and we come together with an approach from your concerned citizens at what we could possibly look at in the next year. Thank you.
30 seconds. Thank you.
Vicki Fulkerson?
Good evening. My name is Vicki McLaughlin Fulkerson, and I grew up in this area. I went to the Elk Rapids schools, through all the schools. The Elk Rapids Library was my library, And I'm very sad that I feel like it isn't my library anymore. I've already gone and paid my $40 for the year, but it doesn't seem right. It doesn't feel like my library. We pay a lot of taxes in this township. We pay a lot of taxes. And we voted for you to disperse these taxes. And I would just like to have the money go to the Elk Rapids Library as it has for 30 years, so we can get our library back. Thank you.
Chris Harvey.
Chris Harvey, 688 South Golden Beach Drive, Keewaydin. I'm not going to, I have condensed my speech because a lot of it has already been spoken, but I just also want to express my disappointment that the board did not sign the contract with the Elk Rapids Library in a timely and open fashion. A contract that has been signed for over 30 years. I can only hope that this board will go forward in a responsible manner to resolve this issue. The library service should be reinstated as soon as possible, which might be next year, so that all Torch Lake Township residents can use this valuable service. And with this reciprocal rights as a possibility, all Torch Lake Township residents could use this service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne Shoemaker.
Hi there, I'm Suzanne Shoemaker. I live on Golden Beach Drive in Keewaydin. I can appreciate the complexities of the previous library contract arrangement. It seems that many contract arrangements were cobbled together in the past, and now the details are lost to time. However, I am here to express my disappointment at being relegated to guest status at what had previously been my home library. I'm here to demonstrate that I do care. And I would like the township to consider a new contract that meets legal obligations. Here in Torch Lake Township, we don't have a downtown. We don't have only one school district, we have two. In some ways, this is similar to the southeastern Michigan township I moved from. But what we did have there was a terrific and growing library system that was a cooperative agreement between Clinton Township and Macomb Township. When my husband and I purchased property here in 1994, two top selling points for me were being able to send a child to Elk Rapids schools and having a wonderful library. The lovely surroundings were also a consideration, of course, but to me, a library is a key part of a community. And I would like my township officials to keep that in mind and be aware of the importance that that is to many of our residents. Thank you.
Jairus Rubin.
Good evening, everybody. Jairus Rubin, County Commissioner, District 2. The Road Commission, as I've told you before regarding the ice storm, the cleanup primarily in Star, Mansalona, and Banks Township has exceeded $200,000 to clean up the trees. Slowed some other projects down, but Bert Thompson, our engineer manager, is getting paving and stuff outlined for the year, and it looks like everything is going to be able to be completed in a timely manner. The hemlock, I've talked to our Antrim Conservation District about it. I encourage all people like me who are in the woods hunting in the fall to be on the lookout for it. I call it looking for snow cones on hemlock trees. They're very white and they're very tiny, little, I call them snow cones to my kids. And that's the telltale signs of the damage that they cause to hemlock trees. Banks Township is concerned about it. It's primarily hitting along the lake shore. And I'm glad to hear that some treatment is being undertaken. The good news is it's not a fast moving. Unfortunately, the movement is primarily caused by us when we get some of their sap from a hemlock tree on a vehicle. You drive from one place to another and then it transfers. So being cognizant of trying not to transfer this disease will be helpful also. I do get questions from time to time on the sheriff's department, and he was joking with me earlier about funding. $13.5 million roughly general fund budget for Antrim County. Approximately 50% is spent on public safety, 911, sheriff's department, courts, prosecutor, jail. So we do take it very seriously. It's one of the primary services that I think all of our residents rely on. Also, I was going to mention the Road Commission has a service that they have now where if you call the Road Commission, they will itemize what's called a service request. So if there's a pothole on Torch Lake Drive, you call, you tell them where it is, and they have a map system next to their phone. So our Secretary Kelly can put it into the map system and put it on for the engineer or the foreman to take a look at. And then they have a checkoff system where is it urgent, not urgent, and when will it be checked out? It's been very helpful for residents, and it's also been very helpful for the Road Commission because they can't be on all the roads at all times. They don't know that there's a tree down on Torch Lake Drive, or they don't know exactly where a pothole needs to be fixed. So it's been a very useful thing, and it provides a service to all of us who travel our roadways. So I encourage all constituents, if there's a problem on the roads, call the Antrim County Road Commission, and they will get it on their service request. And all those service request forms are presented to the Antrim County Road Commission Board, and they take a look at them every month. So, any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Rita Service.
Rita Service, 12110 Dragonfly Lane. Sorry, I kind of messed up your order with Jairus. So anyway, I'm just kind of sitting here a little bit confused on why it's so hard for people to understand the board's decision. So what I thought I would do is I'd like to make 10 statements of fact for the board's and the citizens' consideration. Number one, as the board, you are certainly fully aware that the Elk Rapids Library changed the contract, not the board. So let me repeat that. The library changed the contract, the long-standing contract, to exclude half the township. Number two. It is not only a misuse, but also an abuse of all the township's taxpayers' funds to provide library services for only part of the residents. Number three, Milton, Elk Rapids Village, Elk Rapids Township are all being taxed with a specific millage for use of the library. So why hasn't the library done the same thing for Torch Lake? Number four, as a Central Lake District taxpayer, I am paying substantially more than $80 a year. But now I'm supposed to pay that and a guest card. Number five, so let's talk a little bit about process and editorials. As the board is aware, not a single person showed up at the January 23rd meeting for the general fund discussion. At the March 11th annual budget meeting, I think a whopping 15 people showed up at that meeting, and only one individual inquired about the library. And it was told to that library that, again, Central Lake District is being refused access. They could if they wanted to pay. Number 7, all board meetings are posted on the website with the agendas and the packages. And oh, by the way, so is the library contract. Again, little to no interest in attendance or correspondence. Now people are all stirred up, not because of the township's communications, but because they received an email. Well, let me tell you, I got an email that said, "You're done." So I sent an email back to them and said, "Well, why are you only telling half the story? Where's the rest of the people?" And you know what I got the response from? And I quote, "It is up to the township to explain." This is what the board is doing due to the library's flagrant misinformation. In their contract, in their own words, was to create a bridge. So why haven't they been out there spending all this time writing letters, editorials, phone calls, emails? Why aren't they out there putting it out in the ballot? So I'm sure all these people that are complaining about the $80 would be willing to volunteer their time to get it on a ballot. So I'm going to end that with the way I started. The library, not the board, intentionally cut half the township's access. So folks, in essence, it was the library that ended the contract. So thank you, board, for taking a step back and saying, what is wrong with this picture? Thank you.
All right. Jemima?
Hello, my name is Jemima Rubin, and I'm from Banks Township. And I would like to read this poem called "God Bless Our Native Land" by Francis Harper. It's in honor of Memorial Day. God bless our native land, land of the newly free. Oh, may she ever stand for truth and liberty. God bless our native land, where sleep our kindred dead. Let peace at thy command above their graves be shed. God help our native land, bring surcease to her strife, and shower from thy hand a more abundant life. God bless our native land, her homes and children bless. Oh, may she ever stand for truth and righteousness.
Very good, thank you. All right. Mary, any others? No? All right. Board, guess it's our turn. Jason, you get to go first.
Sure. I'm gonna probably leave the library stuff to you guys, but first of all, I just want to give a props, shout out to the clerk, the deputy clerk, and her whole team on handling what was their first election, and they did a pretty good job, from what I hear.
They did a very good job.
So hats off to them. Yeah, as far as the library goes, you know, out of everybody here, I never heard anybody ask, you know, why did they change it? Why are only half of our residents getting used to that? Which is still an unanswered question. For those of you that don't think there is a library, you don't have a library, Central Lake Library, $20 a card. They have everything that Elk Rapids Library has. For those of you, I'm talking.
No comments, please.
For those of you that, for instance, use the boat ramp as an example, well, I don't have a boat. Well, that's your choice, but every resident in this township has equal rights to that boat ramp. We didn't take half of the rights away from half of our residents. And the other thing is I would like to say thoughts and prayers to the Bogard family. They lost their son to a tragic accident. Sarah Bogard helps out with Milton Township. She sits on the board of review and helps out with the election. So I just want to let her know that family know that Torch Lake Township's thinking of them.
Thank you, Jason. Sharon?
Well, I appreciate everybody here. There's a lot of faces I've never seen before, so thank you for coming. I recognize a lot of names, but not faces, so just to have you appear is welcoming for sure. The comment made that Elk Rapids is the community. I kind of take offense to that because we do have a village and we do have Eastport. We would like to see more people utilize those places of business also. It's not out in left field for keeping, it is front and center to keeping our residents in Torch Lake Township also, besides Elk Rapids. That being said, I hear your voices. We do need to come together as a community. I think just hearing your voices and knowing what we know here also, I think somewhere along the line, a reciprocal agreement can and should be made. I think we just need to work on it. Like I say, again, I've never seen a lot of your faces, but I appreciate you all being here. So with that being said, thank you for coming.
Mary?
Well, first, in recognition of National EMS Week, I would like to say that we have a great team here. This past weekend, my daughter was injured and we unfortunately had to call on them, and they came and they were great. And I felt very fortunate that they were able to get there so quickly and help us out. So I want to say thank you to them for sure. And I have a statement that I'm going to read. I'm deeply disturbed and disappointed by the way that this board has been misrepresented by the Elk Rapids District Library. The information that has been shared with Torch Lake Township residents is an unfair account of the facts. The contract that was presented to us asked for money from everyone in the township to benefit only the Elk Rapids School District residents. Their reason being that Central Lake School District people already have access to the Central Lake District Library. Of course they do. They pay for it through their taxes. I personally pay $134.22 a year for mine. I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit that I didn't pay much attention to it before this matter presented itself. I wonder how many other Central Lake School District residents don't have a clue what they pay for the library. Now I ask you, why should I or any other Central Lake School District resident pay extra so that Elk Rapids School District residents can have free access to their library? Let's just imagine a minute that Torch Lake Township decided to begin having an annual dump day like they do in Milton Township, where you can bring all the big ticket items that can't go into regular household waste. This is a service that would be paid for out of the general fund. Now imagine that we told you everyone in Central Lake School District could bring their items for free, but Elk Rapids School District residents would have to pay $100. I don't think that would go over very well. After our initial review of the contract, we made our position on this very clear. I personally reached out and requested a meeting with Pam Williams to discuss what other options we could come up with, and her response was, quote, "The terms of the contract will remain the same, but I can change the wording if it is confusing or not clear." Further, she went on to say, quote, "I think it's important to have on record a contract that you voted on. Even if you do vote this contract down, I need to report to the state, and it would be helpful if I could reference a meeting where Torch Lake Township voted down a contract." To me, that seemed incredibly unproductive, and therefore I did not respond. So there was no more discussion and there was no vote. Now I wonder, how are we the ones to blame for being unable to come up with a compromise? Since that time, we have been bullied via email, social media, phone calls, letters to the editor, and by angry residents that come to our office and approach us in public. We have done our best to be transparent, and we haven't closed the door on negotiations. I can't speak for everyone else on this board, but I will not be intimidated into making a decision that is unfair and unequal for all of the residents of this township.
Thank you, Mary. Andy?
Thank you, Bob. A couple things. First, I'd also like to acknowledge the EMS week and applaud and thank the EMS service providers to keeping us safe and medically sound. Someday, like my father and my mother, who also lived in this community, I'm sure I will have to tap into you someday. Hopefully, I'm not so big that you can't lift me off the cart. So this library thing, I've thought about more than I care to even admit. I travel a lot for work, and I've thought about it on the airplanes. I've thought about it during business meetings, and it's a very interesting issue, and it's a complex one. But what I think has happened here is there's two things being mixed up. There's a utilization of a service or an offering, and a rights to that same utilization or service or offering. I've heard comparisons to the boat ramp. I've now heard comparisons to some other services. And at the end of the day, this boils down to a very simple matter for me. If, when the contract was changed and only half of the residents had access to it, to me, that's where it became a problem. I'm fully supportive and would go to great lengths to try to extend library access to people as part of being part of the community. 100% behind that. I'm not behind taking general funds and using for only half the residents. The kind of stark example I thought of, it was take the cemetery off of Torch Lake. Let's suppose all of a sudden, if you're providing funds to maintain the grounds to that, and you've been doing it for years, and all of a sudden, the terms of the contract said only people with their last names A through M can now use it. You would think that's absolutely ludicrous. But that's what's happened here. Only half the residents of Torch Lake Township get to use the ER library with the general funds being paid for. That's the issue. If there was a change in the terms of that, and I heard something about reciprocal access, I'm not certain exactly what that means. I would certainly be willing to listen to that. But at this point, I have not heard any of that I'm not aware of those. So that's my position on it. And I feel very strongly about that. I cannot think of another service in this township where general account funds are provided and certain people don't have rights to them. It doesn't mean people don't utilize them. There's tons of more people don't utilize them, but I can't think of one where not everybody has that right.
Thank you, Andy. Well, needless to say, I received a number of emails and phone calls, somewhere around plus or minus 30. Only about 10 individuals maintained a position against the board's decision. After thoroughly explaining the issues to the other people out of the remaining 20, all were in agreement with the board's position. Given the amount of public comments regarding the subject matter, there was not a groundswell of objection to this prior to this meeting. It would be interesting to know how many people have actually signed up for the $80 library card. I'd like to address a couple of comments. For 4.5 years, I have sent out the agenda the Thursday before the meeting, and on Saturday, I've worked every Saturday to send out the board's package on the website so every one of you could see what was going on at the next board meeting. There was nobody, as it was mentioned, at the January 23rd budget meeting. There was nobody to speak of at the February meeting when we discussed it. At the March meeting, we had a few more people. Nobody came to the annual meeting to discuss it. I don't see very many people here that were at the annual meeting, nor were you there when we talked about the budget. And that item was excluded in the details. And all that information was on the website a week before the meeting. So I get a little upset when people say, I'm not transparent, that the process is broken. I'll be honest with you, the process that's broken is the involvement of the people in the township. Today, you came out today but it's the first time you've done it. And we're talking 3.5 months. The problem is the township doesn't take the time to read the stuff that's published. You get an understanding of it, and feel free to call me anytime. Second, I was accused in the letter of the Elk Rapids District Library website that the board did not offer any millage support for Elk Rapids library services. Folks, it was never requested that I'm aware of. But I have maintained through this whole process, Elk Rapids District Library needs to go through a millage for the Elk Rapids School District with Torch Lake Township. How is it that the members of the Elk Rapids District Library missed my multiple comments with regards to that specific fact? Also in the same letter, they bolded the words, potential reciprocal agreement with Central Lake District Library. Yeah, they mentioned it. They never mentioned it again. They didn't send me any documents to look at. I have no idea what the status of that discussion is. Yet you folks bring it up like we're to blame for something. I don't understand it. Finally, given that the other 3 members of that library district are going to pay $81 in assessments, and that will continue to go up each year with revised property assessments, I assume the amount they will be asking for Torch Lake Township, Elk Rapids School District voters will be at least that amount or higher, depending on when they get something to vote on. A word of caution to the voters in Elk Rapids School District. I start off by saying I am not against libraries, but we in Central Lake District have been paying a tax for a number of years. Currently, I pay almost $400. People need to consider the effects of taxation versus an annual fee. I'm sure my library rate started lower than $400. I would have preferred paying an annual fee that I could have stopped renewing instead of a steadily increasing library tax. Our example now, an $80 a year fee for a library card, that if I were in that position, if I didn't care for it anymore, I could cancel it. You probably will not ever get to cancel a library tax. Just something you should consider. As to accusations that we did not have a follow-up meeting with the library team, I agree with Mary. I followed that up with Pam and another board member, I believe, that in fact, the terms of the contract will remain the same, but I can change the wording if it is confusing or not clear. My question to Mary was, what are you going to negotiate? Words? And yet they have the audacity to say we didn't respond. If people want to say that I did not follow up and have another meeting, I think the casual observer would agree that Pam basically shut down the negotiations by indicating that she was not open to changing the terms of the contract except for some wording changes. Now, if people want to blame me for not having further discussions, then there isn't much I can do about that. Elk Rapids Library set out to renegotiate the contract, as they indicated in an email to me saying that Torch Lake Township was not doing their fair share for the library. Well, what they did was they got me to go to our attorney, who has advised us to have a discussion with him before doing anything further. I appreciate the township's voters and people to understand that we will do something. It will be in our court to send something back to Elk Rapids District Library, but it's going to be legal, and it's going to be something that you will have a chance to review before it's sent to them. It will be part of a meeting, and it will be in the same communication style that I've done for 4.5 years. I make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.